All right, everyone, it's Tuesday. You are watching the morning briefing from the Celtic Way, and it's Tuesday, and it could be the day, guys. The day Celtic are crowned champions. It could also be tomorrow. It's a good kind of thought to have and a good feeling to have. Kevin, are you still buzzing from Saturday?
Yeah, just over the last couple of days, whenever there's been a bit of a lull in the day, I just stick on the BBC highlights. So I can probably tell you every single pass and who played it up to that first goal, which the more you play it back, it was just a work of art. It's probably one of the best crafted goals that we've scored this season.
Yep.
When you think about it, when Carton strides forward, and there was about half a dozen players in the team who were involved.
Yeah, up there with Love Street 86 in terms of a football crafted goal.
Absolutely, and that wee dart by McGregor,
brilliant,
which just unlocked the device, the defence.
It's the way Matt O'Reilly just strolls away from. Was it Lundstrom that's meant to be whoever's meant to be picking up?
Silva was one of them. Yeah,
just drifts away, and McGregor's got the presence of mind to just says, you know what, there you go, Matt, do the rest, and he does it. But there's so many moments in that move, Hamish, that you rightly pointed out. Obviously, the pass, I think you said 14 passes, wasn't it? And
yes,
there's
8 players.
8 players involved, so there's so many things that you can pick out, but as you say, the wee dart, the way just Matt O'Reilly just creates that space by just walking away, just be, we talk about it a lot, being spatially aware and seeing the game in pictures. At that precise moment, those two guys saw what could happen if I do this and I go there. And, it's magic, it's joyful.
Yeah, McGregor was involved in 3 different phases of that goal: the start, the middle, and not quite the end, but near the end. He obviously got an assist. Someone's going crazy in a car out there. They obviously don't know I'm live on YouTube. Right, okay, we've got loads to chat about today, guys. First of all, big thanks to MPH Boilers and Viessmann for sponsoring today's video. They are a match made in heaven, like Celtic and trophies, guys, and hopefully we've got some trophies to come. As you know by now, MPH Boilers, if you go with them, you're getting the best in the business, a local team committed to excellence and customer satisfaction. Viessmann's Boilers, meanwhile, are engineered to deliver not just warmth, but unparalleled efficiency and reliability. Even in the summer in Scotland, we get some chilly days, don't we? So, check them out. Links will be in the description. We've also still got our wonderful date, Tony, with Martin O'Neill.
Yeah, thanks to everybody who's taken this up as well, but it's open to all subscribers, existing subscribers and new subscribers, but you've got to get on board with this. www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. 6 months of access for £1, and one lucky subscriber is going to win a lunch date with Martin O'Neill, club legend that is Martin O'Neill. The only thing I can think better than that is possibly a lunch date with Kevin McKenna. But that's who's probably more tails than Martin O'Neill, probably one of the few men that has. But there you go.
Who
guys,
throw that
get
in?
Involved. Guys, get involved. Get involved in that, and thank you to everybody who has. But one lucky subscriber is going to win that soon. It's a brilliant prize. It is our best ever offer, methinks.
Yeah, great stuff. Thanks to everyone who's subscribed so far. Right, we're obviously going to chat Celtic, maybe a bit about the weekend just there, more looking ahead. I want to get people's thoughts on how they want to clinch the league. So you can fire them in, and I'll hold on to some of them for later, and I'll ask you to as well. A few kind of non-Celtic stories I just want to mention. The first one, Hibs have sacked Nick Montgomery. Did you see that, guys?
Yeah.
Yet another manager being sacked. So
sixth manager, 5 years, I believe, Hamish.
I just don't get it. I mean, they need to. I mean, remember Sean Maloney got about 4 months, and who was the other one? There was another one as well, I can't remember. Heckingbottom it was a few years ago, and it just seems like David Gray's always in interim charge there. Strange stuff. The other one I just wanted to briefly mention, it's really not linked to Celtic, but Jesse Marsh has been appointed as the new Canada manager. So obviously Alistair Johnson's manager. He's kind of been linked with our job in the past, hasn't he? So that's interesting.
He has.
The final thing, probably haven't seen this coming out this morning. UEFA have told Euro 2024 teams that only captains will be able to approach the referee during matches. And any other players who approach the referee showing any sign of disrespect or dissent will be booked. If the captain is a goalkeeper, a teammate can be nominated to approach ref. So clearly if it's coming to Euro 2024, it's going to be coming to the Champions League, I would say, next season. Or certainly at some stage in the future. What do you make of that? Only captains will be able to approach the referee. It is quite rugby-like. Personally, I'm not against it, Tony.
No, I'm not against it at all. You see a lot of kind of trying to intimidate the referee by surrounding him and stuff like that. And I think for a referee, it can possibly become intimidating. But, I've always felt that there should be a line of communication between the captain and an official. I'm all in favour of it, because you see players running madly to referees, with the brandishing imaginary red cards. And you see that. I don't know, football's emotive though, isn't it? And a lot of them are caught up in the moment with a decision goes against them. But I want to see how it's kind of implemented. And theory's good, but let's see how it works in practice. I always remember, and Kevin will remember, when Rattan gets sent off at Wembley, and he just kept pointing to the armband to the referee in the 1966 World Cup quarter-final, like, I'm the captain, you can't do this to me type thing. And when he played England, I've seen the footage, and and I just thought, so it's always kind of, it's been burned in my mind, and I thought the referee wasn't bothering that he was the captain, he was sending him off the pitch, and it was just like, look, you need to respect that kind of thing. So it's just depends.
One of the many helping hands that England got in '66, it should be pointed out, Argentina should have been in that game.
Yeah. So I just think the captain is the kind of leader and supposedly the voice of authority for any team on the park. And I always think referees, don't do themselves any favours by not approaching captains at times. And I know some do. Maybe saying to the captain, have a word with him if somebody's persistently fouling. I think that's sensible and responsible refereeing. But as I say, the theory sounds great to me, but I want to see how it kind of works in practice. And as you say, if it's been brought in for a major Euros final, then it's coming to the Champions League and every other league in Europe soon, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. I mean, Henrik McLarston saying, great idea. Captain should be able to convey his thoughts to the ref. Cal Mack was doing his best on Saturday to shouting Willie. So, I mean, it's football does have a bit of an issue, I would say, with, dissent, I guess, and you could probably use other words, Kevin, and UEFA clearly wanting to stamp down on it.
I think Celtic have imbued. I think we've imbued ourselves with quite a lot of discipline. You don't often see Celtic players surrounding the referee. I think that's something that's been worked on over a couple of generations of players. That starts at the youth level. We don't tend to get bookings for dissent, and I quite agree with this rule. When I do, even on the rare occasions I've seen Celtic players surrounding the referee, I'm just like, just go on with it, because it's never in. Have you ever? Has there ever been an occasion when the referee has changed his mind because he's been surrounded by players? It doesn't happen. I mean, Tony's right. You get caught up in the emotion. And when I played amateur football, it was the same. It's just the way it is. But there's been some, there's some great footage if you can see it. If you look up of, if you look at Carlos Puyol when he was captain of Barcelona, and Maldini when he was captain of Milan, and there's great footage of each of them, having a go at their own players for surrounding referees, because. They were the figures of authority, and that immediately demands respect from the referees as well. He knows he's dealing with a couple of adults, who have got the respect and a bit of fear from their own players. And I think Callum's got a bit of that in him, But you don't. It's not a great problem for us, and I would love to see it stamped out. Let the we can do all the protesting. Players can just kind of go on with it.
I was always taught, one of the last things that was always said to me whenever I played football for any team was, remember, respect the referee, he's never going to change his mind. And that was drilled into me as a kid playing under 8s, under 9s, whatever, and I always kind of did respect the fact. You didn't have to. It was always told, look, you don't have to like his decision, you don't have to agree with him, but they ain't changing their mind, and you're just a waste of energy doing that. So you'd rather channel that energy into doing something productive and creative.
I think also in the Champions League, it could help a little, because I've noticed when we played the likes of Atletico Madrid, one or two of the Italian teams, you see them the yellow cards and the red cards getting flashed by the players, and occasionally, especially with Atletico's excitable wee manager, who seems to orchestrate it. I mean, it seems to be. It seems to be part of it.
Isn't Maeda getting sent off down to earlier in the season?
Yeah, and in the atmospheres in the Champions League, I have seen referees visibly wilt under pressure, quite often orchestrated from the touchline. And I'd be, if they're going to do this seriously, and book players who are not the captain for approaching the referee, I think they should be closely scrutinising certain managers throughout the game as well, because quite often it comes from them, and quite often the players take their cue from the theatrics going on in the touchline from the managers.
The Dyson Maeda one that you mentioned, Hamish, was a big team decision. Which was gotten by Atletico Madrid by their manager, by Diego Simeone, and as you see, that's his forum. So I think referees and officials and people should be wise to that too. I agree, Kevin, completely that it should extend to managers as well, who have forum for brandishing imaginary cards and stuff like that. So if you're going to do it with players, then managers have to respect authority too.
I've always thought with dissent and stuff like that, there's so many other sports where if you behave like that in a referee and go over the top, they won't just book you, but they'll kind of give some sort of a foul to the other team, or like move the free kick 10 yards forward and stuff like that. And I've always thought football should adopt something like that to stamp it out. Personally, I just think, I agree, I don't think Celtic have much of an issue. You very rarely see a Celtic player being booked or sent off for dissent, really. But I just thought that was interesting. I saw that earlier. Just if you missed what I said at the start, it's basically UEFA during Euro 2024. I've said that only captains will be able to approach referees. Any other players who do it will be any other players that do it and show disrespect or dissent will be booked. Right, there was a transfer report, a few transfer things overnight. One from the States, Larry Henry Jr. from SBI Soccer, who's quite a trusted source of Cameron Carter-Vickers news, saying that there's interest in Turkey for Carter-Vickers, although he's happy at Celtic and has no plans of making a move anytime soon. I guess it's not a major surprise that there's interest in him, Tony, but he wants to stick around, and it's just about finding a partner for him now moving forward.
Yeah, I think Larry's got the backbone to Cameron Carter-Vickers, hasn't he? So he's been pretty bang on the money with stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, why would you move to Turkey if you're Cameron Carter-Vickers? You're at a place where you're loved, and I mean absolutely loved. You're a linchpin of a successful football team, and you have sampled the Champions League, and you know the delights of that. And now we're entering a new world, a new era of the Champions League. I think you would want to be part of that, wouldn't you? And you've got a manager who has emphasised and praised you to the hilt, and the stats bear out when you're not playing in the team that the team suffer when you're not there. And I think, as you say, you now scour your recruitment team now have to scour Europe and beyond to find a partner of that ilk, of the Cameron Carter Vickers ilk for him. And I think if we can find that and unearth that, then there's lots to be positive about moving forward. And as I've said before, Cameron Carter Vickers had a bit of a nomadic existence, didn't he? I know he was at Tottenham, but he never actually played a first team game, and he had 7 loan spells. But he's found a spiritual and natural football home, and it's no surprise that he's loving it. And I think that's, as I've said before, and I'm using it the right way, I think that's pretty seductive, and it's a powerful drug for a lot of players who've maybe never experienced that. And I think they'll find it hard to get that anywhere else. That adulation, that kind of hero worship, and the fact that you are a massive big player in a massive club who likes to compete at every level, or certainly tries to.
Yeah, he was signed on the same day as Jota
wasn't he?
And Giakoumakis. And both of those players have left for relatively big money. He's seen his defensive partner Carl Starfelt move on. There's speculation all the time about Matt O'Reilly, Rio Hitati. There doesn't seem to be the speculation at all. Certainly not that I've seen about Carter Vickers moving on. And it's surprising, Kevin, because he's such a good player. But obviously that's great news for us. I hope he sticks around for years and years to come.
Yeah, I think it's a nothing story. Turkish clubs, there's no way he's going to go to Turkey. He's probably held that team together when he came back from injury, because if you look at Saturday's game, I mean, I know that Clement is channeling his inner Michael Beale again, saying that the only difference between us and Rangers is the injury list, which is nonsense, and every Rangers fan I know will tell him that's nonsense as well. But if you look at our team, the team that started on Saturday was basically last team's team shorn of 3 of its top players: Starfelt, Jota and Abada. I'm not saying that Abada would have played, but he probably would have. So the team that started on Saturday was a downgrade from last season, because we had 11 players who signed 11 players. Not a single one of them starts the most important games. And I think the most important performances, because of the instability at the back, or the potential instability at the back, because Scales was started the season as 5th choice, didn't he? 4th choice, 5th choice.
Yeah.
And the fact that he has gradually come into that role has been due to the organisational abilities, the positional abilities, the tackling, the leadership of Carter Vickers. I think I know we look at sexy players like McGregor, O'Reilly, when we're handing out the awards, and I get that. But when we look back at last season and the calamities that that we were facing in defence after a couple of months, and potentially what could have happened after Christmas, I think we will look at Carter Vickers' performances after he came back from injury as being a key part in that. And that was a big, serious injury he had. It wasn't just a case of him coming back and immediately taking up the reins. Like Callum, it took him a few games, and meanwhile, he's playing beside Scales, who's a novice, and occasionally one or two of the other set. In fact, there was 3. I think 4 centre backs, 5 centre backs we used with Carter Vickers, if you include Welsh, Lagerbielke, Nawrocki, Phillips. Remember his calamitous performance at Rugby Park. So
is he going to get a league winner's medal, by the way, Phillips?
Well, it depends how many times he was on the bench, or minutes that he got. Yeah. So Carter Vickers has had 5 different partners. So you cannot overstate the importance of his performances in what has been a jaggy season for us.
He's the glue that's held the defence together, isn't he, Hamish? He is the glue, isn't he? Basically,
he strode through that game on Saturday, even when we were coming under a bit of pressure. He strolled it.
He arguably holds a team together, Tony.
Well, that's another argument as well. But yeah, I mean, I think when you're thinking Cameron Carter-Vickers, I think everybody's mind will flick to that performance at Hampden before he went for knee reconstruction. That was a man that was just determined. He was bowing out in a high, and his team were winning that game. Threw himself in front of everything, and just knew it was his last act of that season for his club. And I salute that. And as Kevin said, he came back from a pretty serious injury, and he did the same. He threw himself right back into it, and he's had setbacks along the way. And and I think you're right. You can arguably say he's the glue that holds not just the defence but the team together as well. Because you see that name in the team sheet, starting 11, you just breathe. You just know it's going to take something extra special to breach that Celtic defence with your man there. And he just gives you that. It's that comfort blanket, isn't it, to the Celtic support, that security in knowing that, yeah, okay. And I think also as well, he reminds you of Big Bobo, kind of not so much towering presence, but just that kind of intimidating presence that he can put players off. But he's more of a footballer than Bobo ever was, and that shell out to Maeda for that second goal it's terrific.
Yeah.
I mentioned it yesterday, but just as Kevin says, when you watch it again and again, it's just an incredible pass, and it's not even just a lump forward; it's a pick out.
No, he
picked him out, and then the touch from Maeda after that sublime, and then what happened after's even better. But
how good was we Dyson on Saturday?
Well, as if by magic, I've written something about it on the website, so you can have a read at that, guys.
Excellent.
Because that meme that was going about yesterday with the Nessun Dorma tune, I've just sort of said it's apt. And the reason I've said it's apt is because the translation of Nessun Dorma is none shall sleep. and I've said no defender, Scottish defender, has been able to sleep when they've come up against your man. Because it's true, isn't it? He's just tortured them all, hasn't he?
Yeah, I just love him. And I love Carter-Vickers as well. You talk about, in Dies and Maeda's case, the quality isn't always there. But sometimes I can forgive that when you see someone just giving their absolute all for Celtic. And sometimes you think that should be the minimum requirement, but very often it isn't. But Maeda and Carter-Vickers, they play through injuries, they rush back from injuries, they rush back from the other side of the world when they've played for their country a day prior to a derby. I just love them, and Celtic are going to be the Celtic part's going to be a far worse off place when those two move on. But I think both of them, and I think Kyogo as well, are here for the next few years at least. I think they're at that kind of age, and we're going to build our team around them. There's also a report on Alex McCarthy, guys. Don't particularly think we need to go into it. He's the Southampton goalkeeper. We've been linked with him. I think he's just one of many goalkeepers we're going to hear about over the summer. As I said at the top,
one of many players, Hamish, just pick a name, isn't it? And you're going to be linked with, and there'll be speculation. People will do the backgrounders on them, and somebody will tell you they're fantastic, that kind of stuff. There'll be the stats bomb stuff. They've got this and this. So it's always the same every summer, isn't it?
Meant to be good with his feet. I think it said in that article, Dennis bringing that up as well. 34 years old though, so I don't know whether he'd be a replacement for Joe Hart or a replacement for Ben Siegrist. Right, in terms of how we want to win the league, what are the thoughts? The scenario is that we will win the league if we beat or draw with Kilmarnock tomorrow night. However, should Rangers fail to beat Dundee tonight, we'll be crowned champions. So do you want to win it ourselves? Do we want the hilarity of Rangers winning us the league at Ibrox, or do you not really care, Kevin? What's your thoughts on this?
I don't really care. I think Rangers will win tonight, one way or another. And then it's Rugby Park. I want to wrap it up, and I want a win at Rugby Park because Kilmarnock have beaten us twice this season there, deservedly so. I have to say, on each occasion, we can have no complaints. Kilmarnock have been great this season under Derek McInnes. They're probably going to they'll finish fourth, and they're a really good football team. Beating us, beating Rangers, know what they're about. But I want to beat them. I don't want any talk of draws. We need to beat them. Again, but what kind of really stuns me, and it just sums up, the small thinking and aspects of Scottish football is that there's going to be 2,500, 3,000 empty seats because of this policy of some of the smaller clubs have adopted to think, they're kind of doing themselves a favour.
At least.
We must be, there must be the only league in the world where, on one hand, we keep saying it's the entertainment industry, it's for spectators, and we have senior clubs that actively go out of their way to stop people getting in. This is what happens. We've got some clubs who go out of their way to stop people getting in to see a football match. It's unbelievable. And the SFA, if they're wet, I know there's non-existent leadership in the SFA, the SPL has been for decades. It just wouldn't be tolerated. Shouldn't be tolerated in any other league. This is your top league, right? They can lament not being able to get more money for their television rights. Well, no wonder. Would you be saying, imagine the SPL you're a Sky executive and the SPL comes to you and says, we need a bit more money. You're not paying us enough. You would just turn around and say, well, do yourself a favour. Come and speak to us when you actually make it possible for all your clubs to make as many seats as possible available for sale. You actively stop people, Celtic fans and Rangers fans, it has to be said, coming and adding to the spectacle. So, forget it. In fact, I'll tell you what, Sky should be imposing penalties and saying, well, okay, we've calculated how many seats that have been emptied deliberately, contrived to be like that by half a dozen clubs. So we'll actually kind of work out the metrics, and that's minus 5% of what we owe you because your key stakeholders, i.e. the clubs, have actually worked against or have deliberately undermined the spectacle. It's nonsense.
I remember when we won the league there, probably back in 2012, was it? And we had 3 full stands. I was in the kind of additional third stand they gave us, and I think there was
Charlie Mulgrew scored too.
I think it was 13 or 14,000 Celtic fans there that day.
6-0 game, Hamish.
Yep.
6-0 it was.
6-0,
yeah. Saying that, Tony, there's going to still be at least 4,500 Celtic fans in the Celtic end. I would say there'll be a fair few in the home end as well if they can find a way to get tickets.
Of course. I would have thought on this occasion, Kilmarnock have had the better of Celtic at Rugby Park this season. So it's not been much of an advantage, has it, for Celtic? This season. So, but why don't they do what Livingston did and just open up all the stands and let the people that want to go and watch it? Because as Kevin says, it's going to be live on Sky. And it's a potential title decider. Going back to your original question, I want it done and dusted as soon as possible. I'd like Rangers to drop points or Dundee win, just so that it's fine, and then you can go to Rugby Park and it's party time, and hopefully Celtic can put on a show. As they say, that's my own preference. I fully expect Rangers to win, and I want Celtic to go hell for leather and do the business down there. And I'm not a lover of things like revenge, but I think certainly in the manager and the players' minds, they'll be, right, listen, can't happen. third defeat down at Rugby Park. Just get the head screwed on and sort it out. The other two, you can't forgive the performances. Both of those occasions were lamentable, weren't they? So they've got a chance to sort of atone for that. But yeah, I just, you want a full house for a potential league decider, don't you? In terms of the title being won. So I just feel that Kilmarnock are selling everybody short a wee bit, and they're comfortable in fourth place, aren't they? That's
they're finishing fourth.
Yeah, they can't be caught. So they've had a brilliant season. So why not then get some money on the back of that as well? And coin it in and let the Celtic supporters take over. And it can be the difference between a player that could maybe get them through the qualifiers in the Europa League. Get that wee bit of quality that Kilmarnock need to take them a further step down the line and, put up a fight and when they go into Europe. So that if you'd let the Celtic supporters come in and pay the money for those tickets, that could help, them achieve that end. So I don't understand their policy, but it's up to them, isn't it? You can't dictate to clubs their ticketing policy, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, that's... I guess that's the bottom line. There's no rules in at the moment for a minimum percentage, and to be honest, even if there was a minimum percentage, they still probably give us like 25% of the stadium. The argument is that they should be given us more, given they have so many empty seats. But anyway, I think we're in a better place than we were those two earlier games. One at the start of the season and one in December, I think, and we were really for both of those games. I mean, the first one we barely had a squad together. The second one we did have players, we were just in a really bad place defensively. I don't know if Carter Vickers played in either of those games from memory, but I think it will be a different Celtic team. I just wonder, I think back to that Dundee United game when we won the league a couple of seasons ago at Tannadice, and it's an almost identical situation. We were really poor that night. The pressure not the pressure got to the team, but I think they were just... they didn't play well that night, maybe just getting the job done. They were a bit nervous or whatever, and we drew that game. I wonder if we might see something similar on Wednesday. I hope not. I hope we go and win the game, but to be honest, if we get the draw, we're still going to be celebrating it at full time. But it'd be nice to do it in style. Just a few comments. Paul saying, do the business ourselves on Wednesday. Evil genius, I'll take the title any way it comes. I have no issues with the funny Rangers handing it to us. I agree. I think it's 1-1, to be honest. Ourselves at Kelly, says Hooperman. Monty's wanting a Dundee win. Very split. Dennis wants to win it at Rugby Park, or certainly wants a win at Rugby Park. Evil Genius wants them to lose tonight. I don't want them winning a throw, never mind a game. And if the result of that is winning the league, then happy days. So it's very split. I guess it's irrelevant what we all think. It's just going to happen. In whatever way it happens, it's just good we're having this conversation, Kevin, because 6 weeks ago, it didn't seem like we were going to.
Yeah. We played really well. I think we began to see it really coming together against Hearts the other week. And everybody recognised instantly that is our strongest team. We haven't mentioned James Forrest yet. James Forrest has been key in a lot of ways over the last few weeks. He looks like he was 5-6 years ago. He won the Player of the Year award, Scottish Football Writers Player of the Year award, I think in 2019. And the football he's been playing over the last 2 or 3 weeks, the way he looks, his fitness, took me back to that year. I remember, he helped destroy Rangers 5-0 at the end of the season at Parkhead, and he's on fire. He was crucial in the decisive, in the first goal, just gathering the ball and running directly at the defence, as he did against Hearts previous week, and against Dundee, which was a tricky game as well. His 2 goals. I think that again, we look at the big players, McGregor, O'Reilly, Hatate, Maeda, Carter Vickers, and you can put James Boris in there, Kyogo. They've all begun to click at the same time, at the right time in the season, and Rangers haven't been able to live with us. No matter what their manager said, Rangers can't live with us when we're playing like that, and we should have no fears about the Scottish Cup final. But I know I'm getting ahead of myself there. And yeah, we probably, we may lose one or two players in the summer, but we now know, the manager knows, hopefully the board of directors know exactly what needs to be strengthened. But seeing the years to come, when some of those players drop out or make way, we win the double. A lot of us will look back at that team and we will always be grateful to the players, including, the ones who are maybe not celebrated, like, Taylor, Scales, for what they did under very trying circumstances. We win the double, it will be one of the unlikeliest, because it's been a stop-start season, because there was a lot of criticism, they were getting pressure, they were feeling pressure. And again, just for that remarkable fact that despite having bought 11 players, not a single one of them makes our most crucial match of the season. And we had to rely on sheer hard graft by those who were there. We've had to endure, I think, 4 of our key players being out at various significant times in the season. And there's a good chance we'll finish comfortably top of the league. And as I said, in another cup final. And I think we win the cup. If we win the cup, we equal the world record for trophies in a domestic, in a domestic league. I bumped into Michael Nicholson at Parkhead at the weekend, and I was pointing this out to him, and I kind of winked at him and said, I suppose, I take it if we do eventually, as we will, become the most successful club in the world, we maybe just kind of put it up in lights one time only. Yeah. Just, for the sheer hell of it. But we don't make a massive thing out of it.
Because I would hope not.
Because as we're chatting here, Real Madrid are potentially going to win their 15th European Cup.
I would steer clear of that, to be honest. Absolutely steer clear of that. Just, I think it's, But I think, as you say, Kevin, I think Celtic win the Premiership and Scottish Cup double. It'll be ranked as one of the sweetest, because of, you say, the trying circumstances in the season and the fact that they have prevailed. It has been a stop-start season. It's not been vintage, but that group of players,
1979, isn't it?
Yeah, that group of that group of manager and those players have prevailed, and they'll be fondly remembered, as you say.
When Hamish was talking about Maeda, how much we all love him, there's a player from Celtic's history that has the same place in our hearts and who had the same sort of impact and the same sort of attributes as Maeda, and that was Johnny Doyle.
Yeah.
Johnny Doyle would have run through a brick wall for Celtic, didn't have all the skills, but sometimes he just did amazing things. And, of course, he died all too young, God rest him. But Maeda will have a place in our hearts beside Johnny Doyle.
Yeah, I think Maeda will just be the cult hero, the pantheon of cult heroes at Celtic. But as you said, Hamish, technically he's not the best, but he's still loved because of what he brings. He's just universally loved. So not all players get that or achieve that status.
Well, we'll have some more heroes over the next couple of days, adding another trophy. Hopefully, things should go well. Tomorrow's video will either already be champions or will be looking ahead to the night where we can win the league. So it's a pretty good place to be at the moment, guys. Lunch with Martin O'Neill's a pretty good place to be as well. Seamless. We've got 6 months of access for £1 for the Celtic Way. Plus, you'll be entered into a draw for the chance to win lunch with Mr. O'Neill. And remember that if you're a long-term subscriber, you have been entered into the draw as well. Right, we're going to head... as I say, tomorrow we'll see what's happening. Promises to be a fun video regardless. Thanks everyone for tuning in, giving your thoughts, etc. And I'll speak to you then.